Hey YouTubers, what's going on in the world? Hope everybody's having a good Friday. I'm just lighting up a bowl, my bones, of some Rattay's Old Gallery. And you have to say it like that or it just doesn't taste the same. So, there you go. All right. Like I said, hope everybody's having a good day. Good start to a weekend, hopefully. This tobacco has an interesting cut to it. Reminds me of McBaron Golden Extra. It's kind of a, I don't know if you call it a broken flake or a shredded flake or it's kind of, little, I got the bag over here. Let's see it or not. Let's see what happens. Not really. It's like little definitely holds together like a flake, but it's not quite as pliable as a ribbon when you pack it, unless you really take a lot of time to break it up. You get a few little air pockets in there. It seems to be holding up all right. So I'm gonna do a top 5 Friday kind of thing. Not really, but don't know what inspired me to do this one. Basically a bunch of nothing, but I thought somebody might find it interesting. Go back to 1967. Year I was born. See what some of the top things were. First of all, in 1967, prices. The average price of a new home in 1967 was $14,250. You'd be hard pressed to find a good quality used car for $14,000 now. Certainly not a new car. Rent, average rent across the nation was $125. Most of us pay $125 for our internet service now, or cable or whatever. Gas was 33 cents a gallon. I remember when it was 43 cents. First time I ever bought it, it was 64 cents. Those were the days. Go out with $5 and have dinner at McDonald's and cruise around all night. Speaking of cars, average new car price was $2,750. I bet somebody's watching this on a TV or computer that costs more than that. Movies were $1.25. $1.25. I remember those days. I remember dollar theaters that would show, 6-month-old movies. That was well up into the 80s, late 80s. And the average income was $7,300 a year. So you could work 2 years and buy a house if you didn't do anything else. Minimum wage was raised to $1.40 that year. Right before I started working, actually the summer I started working, minimum wage was raised to, I can't remember what it went from. I believe it was $2.85 or something like that. It was raised up to $3.10 per hour. So that's how much it cost to do everything back then. Top grossing movies from 1967. I've seen every one of these. Number one, I don't have the numbers written down, but it was something like $140 million. Or 104, I don't remember. Anyway, that was The Graduate. Plastics. Mrs. Robinson, are you trying to seduce me? Maybe they put Dustin Hoffman on the map. Number two, top grossing movie from 1967. The Jungle Book from Disney. I've got 2 kids. I've watched that movie dozens of times. Number 3, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner? Guess Who's Coming to Dinner? Go ahead, guess. Number 4, Bonnie and Clyde. Great movie. Great movie. Although it doesn't have the facts straight, it's still a great movie. And number 5, top grossing movie from 1967. This was another one of my favorites. I used to really enjoy this one back in the days of when Showtime and HBO was a new thing. They showed this one a lot. The Dirty Dozen. Classic movie. All-star cast. Some of my favorite actors in it. Good flick. The top 5 singles released in 1967. Top 5 singles, 1967. Number 1 on the list. This is based on chart positions. So the one that was, number 1 for the longest or whatever. Or the highest position for the longest amount of time. Number 1. Sorry, I gotta drink me a little tea here. Procol Harum. Lighter Shade of Pale. Awesome song. Almost a forgotten about band. but that song definitely was worthy of that position. It's a great song. Number 2, this was number 1 the day I was born, which is, it's hard to believe it made number 2 on this list, being released in the middle of December. You know, I take that back. It was a different Monkees song released the day I was born. This one is I'm a Believer. The one released that was number 1 when I was born was Daydream Believer. The Monkees in 1967 actually outsold the Beatles and the Rolling Stones combined. You can believe that. Very much like, because they appealed to a very broad spectrum of people. I mean, they were the people that were young kids that were into the Monkees TV show and stuff like that, and then there were people that were into rock and roll and great songwriting, and there was a lot of that in the Monkees. They had some good music. They were just kind of a novelty. But they appealed to a wide spectrum of people, and they sold a lot of albums, a lot of music. Number 3, All You Need Is Love by the Beatles. Nothing else needs to be said about that. The Doors, number 4, Light My Fire. The song caused a lot of controversy. Think about it. Some of the songs that are released today that people don't blink an eye at. This one was the end of the world for a lot of people because it said, get you higher. And the number 5 song on this list is another one by the Beatles, Strawberry Fields Forever. Which was one of the most drugged out songs by the Beatles, in my opinion. You try to listen to the lyrics and figure out what he's talking about, your mind will turn into some kind of gelatinous blob and run out your ears. Anyway, that's that. While I was researching this, I came across an interesting fact, and this thread of conversation could probably fill up a 10-part video series. But in 1967, there was a law passed called the Tobacco Fairness Act, which stated if a TV station ran a cigarette or a tobacco commercial of any kind, they had to offer free airtime to anti-smoking campaigns to put their message out there. Now tell me how that's fair. Fair would have been they had to accept a paid commercial from the opposing view, in my opinion. At the same price. That was kind of the start of the downfall of big tobacco. While I was reading that little thread of a list about that, I came across the fact that in the year 2000, the Supreme Court ruled against the FDA, saying that they had no authority whatsoever to regulate tobacco products. I'm going to have to investigate that further. Did that get ruled against at some point? Or are they just illegally sticking their nose in it? And if so, why hasn't anybody challenged it? Who knows? Join us next on As the World Turns. So let's look back to 1967. A lot of stuff happened in 1967. The world was a busy place, to say the least. Six-Day War, Vietnam War, first heart transplant. Music world turned upside down. Monterey Pop Festival. All kinds of stuff happened. Anyway, I hope you've been enjoying a bowl while listening to me. If anybody stuck out this long, here's a little trivia question for you. In the Beatles song, All You Need Is Love, what other Beatles song is referenced? If you know that one, leave me a comment down there. It'll help me know who sticks out. 17 minutes worth of me babbling. Until next time, which will probably be sometime today, I mean, for real. Take it easy. Go get you some old Gowrie if you never had it.